This tax refund season, Metro PCS has an offer so good you'll want to shout it from the mountaintops.
Switch to Metro PCS and get two 4G LTE phones for free.
Switch to Metro PCS and get two free 4G LTE smartphones from brands like Samsung and LG. Only at Metro PCS. Limited time offer. Sales tax not included in phone price. After instant rebate. Coverage and services not available everywhere. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Radio. Our mission is to empower you to move out of the shadows of fear, scarcity, and stagnation to step into the energy of invincibility. That is love, abundance, and joy, to become invincible in living your life purpose with electrifying conscious impact, full-out joy, and rocking profitability. We feature rising and established spiritual rock stars, those that are out there making a difference from that clearness that we all are, that are out there helping you in shifting the consciousness to allow all of us to make the purposeful impact in the world that we desire. My name is Daniel John Hanneman, the Blockbuster. I'm so glad to have you here. We have an amazing guest here today, Courtney Amundson, and she's going to be talking to us about teachings from God, greeting your soul, and revealing the divine within. And this is really an amazing book. I got introduced to this not long ago. I got a copy of it, and I was reading it, and it's just such a clear transmission. And so that's what's really remarkable for me. And so I'm grateful to have her here. And kind of one of the very interesting things is that's not just typical in this field is that she is a teenager still. She's almost past that now, but she's just 19, and she's so filled with wisdom. So I'm glad to bring her on in a moment. First thing we always like to message is just to give you a bit of that good news to kick off the whole entire show. And the fact of the matter is we can be one with God. We can be one with all that there is, but we just need to learn how to open up to it. We're going to be learning about that during the show. And the thing is that we have created all these encumbrances for ourselves, all these adventures through our energy, and we can identify what's going on with ourselves energetically by tuning in and listening, by asking, and we're going to be talking about that. And another way, though, you can find out about that directly is through something called energy scanning. And what we're offering to a number of you right now is a free energy scan. So when you go to our website, www.academyforinvinciblehealers.com, academyforinvinciblehealers.com, you'll be able to go there and get a free gift, including a free energy scan with one of our practitioners. You'll be able to take a look at what's keeping that oneness from God and keeping you maybe even running from your one connection with Source. Now, I'm going to tell you about Courtney briefly, and then we're going to bring it right on. Courtney began her path as a seeker at a young age, progressing to the point that these teachings that she has now just began to flow through her effortlessly with complete love and joy. And she started at what age? 16. Isn't that amazing? She's let that happen. In the beginning, the wisdom was received for her own evolution and understanding. But after a short time, she was guided to share it with as many people as possible through teachings from God. Since then, she's worked single-mindedly on getting these teachings out to the public, not only through the work of the book, but expanding into sharing her insights through published articles and speaking. In addition to her dedication to the advancements of these teachings, Courtney is actively progressing toward Qigong healing certification as well as craniosacral therapy certification. And as a classically trained violinist in her spare time she is engaged in her passion for music and new and more free expression. Teachings from God has given Courtney the inspiration and tools to create the life that excites her, and more than anything, she wants to inspire you to do the same. So I'm so glad to have her here today, and I'm going to go ahead and bring her on the line now. So good morning, Courtney. Hello.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So grateful to have you here. So yes, it's just I just was so intrigued, as probably many people have been, when I started hearing about you, and after I asked for to take a look at what you were up to, I was very impressed, and just kind of wondering, just kind of kick off the whole show. I mean, the fact that you're getting started so young, I really appreciate that about you. I remember when I was a teenager and everything, feeling like, hey, I just want to grow up so I can do my work, feeling like I had to grow up first for me. Like I don't even know what I have to share with the world, but I didn't even have clarity about that. But like the fact that you're able to let this come through you now is really amazing. So I would love to know more about how all this, more directly, if you would share more about that, like how you've allowed this to happen through you.
Absolutely. I would love to share about that. And before I do, I want to just say I have a really nasty cold, so everybody listening, if I pause or if I cough, just please forgive me for that. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey for me. And as you said, I started this when I was 16 years old, and it really opened, I think, from a whole life of yearning, of seeking, of wanting to know more about myself and what was my role in the whole universe. And I never really understood why everything had to be so separated, how we had to be separated from God, and how, many times when people would talk about God, I would hear people have this tone of like, oh, we're smaller, we're not good enough for God, and we're sinners and all of these things, and that never resonated with me. So I was always seeking to understand what is God and what's our relationship to God. And I was introduced to a lot of materials at a really young age that primed that seeking even more. And a lot of that was the Abraham Hicks material, which some of you listeners and you might also be aware of that. But amazing stuff and teachings, and that was a big thing for me as I started this journey, is seeing someone else doing this and seeing how the wisdom is capable. I mean, the human being is capable of this wisdom, and it's innate when we ask for it to be presented to us. It's within our bodies. It's within our Akashic system. And so I really opened up to this when I was 16. It was March 12th, 2012. And I was meditating, and I felt something different come over me. It was like an angel that came into my body, and it was such an incredible feeling and such a expansiveness that I had never felt before. And I remember sitting there, and I was home alone, and I thought, well, first I thought, what is happening? Because I felt as though my physical body was not even there anymore. I was light. I was expansive. I had this sense of unconditional love. And it felt so heavenly. And as I was thinking into it, I was noticing this liquid light spreading throughout my body. And as I tuned into that more, I could feel it going down my arms and into my limbs and slowly through my fingertips. And when this golden liquid light reached my fingertips, I felt this urge to, my hands started to move like they wanted to write or type or something. And this light was streaming out my fingertips. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. Shooting out my fingertips with this feeling of unconditional love at the same time. And so I went to the computer intuitively, I was remembering with Esther Hicks' story, which I had been introduced to years before. I remember that her first contact with Abraham, this presence that she called Abraham, which is same source energy, that was her experience as well. And so she went to the typewriter, and I knew I needed to go to the computer. And I opened up Word, and I put my hands down, and I surrendered. I said in my mind the same mantra that I had learned actually from a Qigong master here who has been inspiration and teacher for me for my whole life. And he taught me this mantra: I am in the universe is in my body, the universe and I combine together. And I said those words, and I completely surrendered. And I knew I was held in this unconditional love, and I felt for the first time that I had a purpose, and that there was a reason for me to be on earth. And when I did that, these amazing, loving words started coming through. And that's how my book started. It was March 12, 2012, and the communication started. And at first it was about me understanding my own evolution as a human being, and me understanding who I really am. And then after I kind of graduated from that point is when the material for the book started to flow through, and it was more universal topics, the things that most of us are questioning about life.
Wow, outstanding. Wow, amazing. I mean, it just shows what's possible really for anybody. And when I think about the environment that you're growing up in, where you had influences, at least, that, the books that, got in your hands, and the Qigong master, and, all those things, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm just so excited about that, not only for you and what you're doing now, but also just for everyone out there who's increasingly, there's more and more children that are getting, I think about my own kids, they're younger, but I just think about how exciting it is, how much we're going to be evolving, right? I mean, it's just really incredible.
So much too. It excites me. It excited me when I got introduced to it. But now that I'm kind of blossoming into this and becoming a teacher, a younger teacher, it's really exciting to me to think about the idea of kids younger than me, people younger than me, and I'm 20 now, that are going to possibly see my work and go, oh my gosh, I've been feeling this. And it's a testament to how much we have evolved as a humanity. And I think we're a lot further along than we think we are. And so I agree with you.
Right.
I mean, it's so exciting to see that evolution taking place.
Right. And I love that, that you've got that humility and humbleness to it. Because I've met, people young and older that all different cloths, and I love that about you, that you have that humility and humbleness within you. And I see, I'm an intuitive, psychic type of guy, so I'm like, and I see that continuing to go forward. What a beautiful gift you're bringing to people. And I'd love to start talking a little bit more now about the book and, all the amazing things in it. I mean, just it's so clear, and that, there's a lot of channeling that goes on, but for me anyway, I just feel like some of it's kind of goes all over the place, and yours is just really clear, concise, it's written well. And one of the things in the book, I haven't read the whole thing, I've skimmed through it here and there, I just haven't got to it yet, but it is that you talk about the purpose of this earth experience, because a lot of us wonder about that. We get different answers about it. And and why are we what is it that you could discern from what you've been channeling about why we're here? And then this piece about asking, that is so important. You know, like we bang our heads against the wall. We're like, how is it we going to solve these problems? We haven't even asked, right? We haven't asked Source.
Right.
We don't even think to ask God or Source. So why are we here, and why do we? And then I think for some of us, we were like, well, why do we have to sit around and do this experience and have to ask all these things, go through this whole big deal? So what have you learned about that?
Well, I think the first thing that was really enlightening to me beginning this journey is realizing that I signed up for this and that I did it with joy and I did it with anticipation and I did it because I'm a warrior and I knew that I could. And I see every single human being that way now. I see, the challenges that we come up against as points that we can test ourselves to see how far we've come and can we use all of our tools to see the truth in that situation and then maybe to make the whole challenge a non-issue, to be able to float right through it. I think the purpose of the life experience is to understand our soul's purpose and as a human being, because from the higher perspective, when we are, when our the dominant part of us is non-physical, whereas right now we are partly physical and partly non-physical. From the higher perspective, what we see is a beautiful experience, a game. It's in the book. There's a metaphor that talks about life as a game and that we signed up for it because it's fun. And so a lot of what happens when we become physical beings is we have a limited perception of who we really are, and we have a limited perception of our identity or where we came from. And that's why we question. That's why we ask. That's why we join religions and we try to figure out God. And what's hilarious about all of it is that we're part of it and that we came from that source. But we signed up for this game so that we could go through the seeking, because the seeking is the fun part. And that's part of our soul's growth, is to learn how to stretch ourselves, to learn how to butt up against those things that trigger us, that limit us, that cause us to make ourselves small. And I think as a whole, that's really what we're doing. We're circling around this whole, I'm small, I'm insignificant, God is large, I am small. And it's starting to disintegrate because people are awakening to their true nature. And they're realizing that doesn't resonate anymore. And some people don't really know why, but they just know it doesn't feel right. And a lot of what my book helps us to awaken to is we're part of this magnificence. And it's written with such compassion for humanity. It's not, oh, you're so stupid, you should understand this. It's not like that. It's so beautiful from your perspective, how you see yourself and how you see the world. But let's help you to open up your mind and open up your heart. And when you do have a yearning for those answers or for that awakening within yourself, then it makes the whole process such an easy one. Because even when you come up against challenges and even when you start questioning things in your life, you have this support system, you have this grounding rod that's always with you, because you know that your divine is part of you. You know that, it's always with you. And so asking is such an important part because we have free will. Free will is the foundation of the human experience. Anything that we want to attract to us, any information that we want to use to our benefit, we have to ask for. So it has to be somewhere in the collective consciousness that we're asking. And that's when the answers start presenting to us. So, for example, all of that information that's in the book, it's in the grid. It's in the consciousness of humanity. Otherwise, it couldn't be presented to me. And it's the same on a personal level. So we have to ask for what we desire. And if you're feeling separated from God, if you're feeling separated from the divine, then you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, are you the one holding yourself separate? And the answer would be yes, because it's free will. And so it's, a big topic in the book is about knocking on the door. There's even a chapter in there that talks specifically about that and how we have to knock on the door, and then we will be presented with that connection. But it's your own desire to deepen the connection. The divine's always there for you. Complete love, complete support, always there for you. But it's the human being's free will, and what you're saying you're ready for is what is presented back to you. So I think that's just a huge, huge part of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that is just so true. I mean, it's interesting and completely different way, but similar, basically the same type of deal. You said it so beautifully. I teach these things, right, too. It's just a game. We're one, but myself included, right, all of us. It's interesting how, but, I would say, well, I don't know, but like so many people, I would say in the mass humanity that are just waking up to the idea, I think it takes time to really integrate, you know what I mean? Like, you can hear it and be like, yeah, maybe, and then it goes to, yeah, I believe it, and then it goes to, I'm living from that place. Like, I'm living from that oneness. And, yes, I live from my humanity where I'm playing the separation game, too, but even when I'm playing that, I realize what I'm doing. And, it's cool when we get to that place, and it makes life so much easier, because that's what I've been saying. So everything's so synchronistic that you're saying this today, right? So I've been telling my students, I'm like, listen, the more you can learn out, everything is just a big game, and once you can even giggle when the most incredible things are happening in your life, I mean, it's so freeing, really, if you can just find that little giggle somewhere. It's just like, yeah, this is just a little blip. I mean, it's a little fun we're having here. It really is fun when you get tuned in at a higher level. You really see, like, no matter what the experience, I mean, it's hard for the human to understand this, but it's actually us having fun in a way. So, I don't know, has that been your perspective in your channeling?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, even though I think a lot of people listening may be thinking, well, you must be living that all the time then, if you have this ability to do this, then no.
Right.
I'm also human, and part of this whole contract, if you will, is about being human. It's not about being source energy from the, higher perspective all the time. That's not what this is about. So I have the ability to tune into that when I go into that space. But then, the rest of the time, I'm human. And, of course, my perspectives have changed. My motivations have changed. And a lot of the way I think has changed. But I do have triggers, and I do I've been thinking about this so much, too, basically that challenges can feel larger as you deepen, as you learn more. And that's the place where I'm at right now, is that, and I don't want to deny that, because I think it's important for people to understand that there's never going to be a point where you're enlightened and then you're done, and then you're completely... because...
Not really. I mean, I have met people that say that they're at that vibration, but, I know what you mean. There's always a next step, or otherwise we wouldn't be here, is my take on it anyway.
Right. Yeah, and I think basically what I'm trying to say is that, like, suffering is always going to be present, but our ability to move through it, or our ability to shift its shape or its form, will change. So then we will be able to kind of move through it, see it move through it, and not get so attached to it. But through that process of awakening, I guess, to your truth, your true authentic nature, you do have to move through all of those blockages. And so this book helps us to move through every little human step. And it's so beautiful the way that it's written, and so many metaphors that are, humorous in a lot of ways, really humorous and lighthearted, and also so careful to understand our emotions. And I just think that's gorgeous how there's this ability for Source, for Spirit, to be able to understand our every human emotion, even when there's not always an understanding of that from that level. And to put really deep universal concepts into metaphors to help us to really grasp it. And there's something really beautiful in there. It talks about how little puppies, when they're small and they're still learning to walk, they often run into a lot of things. They run into walls and they stumble and they fall. And what it said is, the puppy doesn't beat itself up. It gets right back up again. And it stumbles again and it gets right back up, but it never gets it never thinks it's stupid for falling over and over and over again. And that's what we do. We think we're stupid. We fall. And we have to learn that that is the process and it's not wrong and we're not failing. So I just as an example, I thought that was a really beautiful analogy and kind of sums up how the whole book works.
Right, absolutely. And one of the really things I appreciate about the book is that it really does talk about the deep, profound love that we're here to embody, and that we should let it in, and that we should love all of our humanness and all that stuff, because I think that's one of the biggest things that the spiritual crowd still tries to push out is, like, I'm human. I have this thing we call a shadow, and all this kind of stuff. We've got to. I think that's so healing is to, I want to eat ice cream, and I want to, whatever the things are we want to do, but like just enjoy all that and really see it. When you see it from a higher perspective, it just changes everything. But we only have just less than a handful of minutes left. Two things. Number one, where can people? I'm assuming that they can get your book at all the usual places, but could you tell them where they could get your beautiful book?
Sure. I think the best way for you to purchase my book would be on my website, and that is teachingsfromgod.com. Really easy to remember. And on there, I do have the link, and it is through Amazon, so you can also buy it there. But the best way would be through my website. So Teachings from God, it's a very easy URL. I always laugh about mine, the Academy for Invincible Healers. They're like, how do you spell it? It's too long. But it sounds interesting at least. But Teachings from God, so clean and simple and clear, just like Courtney is with this work. So I'm so grateful for everything you're sharing. I'd love to hear what in our time left. This is the first big, massive step. It's doing incredible things. This is the coming out party with what you're doing, and so I'm looking forward to see what it's at. What do you feel you're being guided to next? What's next on your path, and why is it so important to you? Well, it's so important to me because I feel I have no other choice. I feel like this entire work has just blown right through me and surprised me and amazed me, and I'm following it almost in amazement, and as everyone else is when they read it, I'm kind of just bracing myself to see what I'm going to be shown next. But I feel I will be traveling. I feel I will be teaching, and I'm just really passionate about connecting with people, and I want to make this universal. I don't want to. I just want it to be for everyone, for all ages, for everyone, and to help people. So that's my biggest reason and my biggest motivation in life. So I hope I can do that, and I think that it will make a big difference. And also just shout out to everyone that's listening. Follow your passions and don't give up on yourself. Follow the signposts and ask for what you want, because when you do that, you open those doors for the universe to help to guide you. And
yes.
So
that's absolutely true. I mean, it works. Courtney's living it. I live it each day, even with my humanness. I'm still living it all the same. And I'll tell you, when we do that, the things beyond our mind put everything together. So you get out of that, the usual stuff, the how, right, which is always the stickly point. And then God source just brings everything together. And I can speak from the place of living it every day. It works perfectly. So, Courtney, thank you for sharing. You're amazing, and I just look forward to continuing to hear more and more about what you're up to. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We just have loved having you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Likewise. And much love and goodness to everyone here. You keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Radio. You all have an amazing day. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, it's Flo, and this is my impression of a drill instructor directing a musical. Town hut! Get those tap heels in line and let me see those jazz hands! Are you bundling your home and auto insurance through Progressive? Can you hear me through those sequins?
Bundle your home and auto through Progressive and save.
Left, let the step change.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Home insurance provided and serviced by other select insurers.